So today we're going to be looking at expanding quadratic equations. It's really important that we look at expanding before we go into factorising, because part of factorising and making sure that we've got the correct answer is going to be the ability to expand. So we just need to make sure that we are confident in expanding before we move on to factorising. It's really quite simple. There's a few different ways that we can do it. So we'll go through the two most popular ways of doing it, and then you can basically choose which one you feel more confident in using. So the first thing we're going to look at is just this simple equation. It's x plus 1 in the first bracket and x plus 2 in the second bracket. This is a really basic equation, but it just means that we can concentrate on the method rather than concentrating on the numbers. So essentially all you're going to be doing is multiplying everything in that second bracket by everything in the first bracket. I normally just do this by drawing arrows and visualizing it, but there is another grid method, as I mentioned, and we'll do both just so you can see both ways of doing this. So let's make a start. The first thing we're going to do is have a look at that x. Now we need to multiply everything in the second bracket by the 1x in the first bracket. So we do x multiplied by x, that's going to give us x squared. So we're just going to pop x squared down there. Then we need to multiply the x by the 2. And x multiplied by 2 is going to be 2x. Now it's going to be, because it's a positive number, we haven't gone into the negatives, we know that it's going to be a plus there. So we've got plus 2x. We've now multiplied everything by the x in the first bracket. So now we need to multiply everything by the 1 in the first bracket. So we're going to do 1 multiplied by x, which is going to give us x, because it's 1x. And then we're going to do 1 multiplied by 2. 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. Again, it's a positive number, so it's going to be a plus. There we go. And now, because we've got all of that together, it's very expanded. We've multiplied everything by everything. So now we just need to group everything back together. So looking at that x squared, there's no other coefficients and variables there with the indices. So we know that that's just going to stay x squared. Then moving on to the x's with the coefficients. So we've got 2x and we've got an x on its own, which we know is 1x. So we've got 2x plus x, which would give us 3x. Again, we're not going into the negatives, so that's staying as a positive 3x. And then we've just got a number by itself, which is the number 2. And again, it's a positive number, so that can just stay as the number 2. So once we've expanded that first equation, we've started off with x plus 1 in the first bracket and x plus 2 in the second bracket. Once we've expanded it and grouped everything together, simplified it back down, we've ended up with x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now again, I've done that by drawing lines. Some people find it much easier to use a grid method. So I'll just quickly show you that now. So there's my little grid. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to write out each part of the bracket on a different line. So the first bracket can be our vertical line and our second bracket can be our horizontal line. So from our first bracket we've got x and 1, and from our second bracket we've got x and 2. Now all we're going to do is make sure that everything in that grid is multiplied. So the first one we've got is x and x, which would be x squared. Then we've got x and 2, which would be 2x. Then we've got x and 1, which would be x. And then we've got 1 and 2. I'll just put a little time symbol up there. And we've got 1 and 2, which would be 2. And then again, so we've got all of our individual components there, and it's just a case of grouping them back around together. And we would also end up with x squared plus 3x plus 2. So whichever way you find easier when you're expanding, use that way. You're still going to get the same answer.